Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Please join us today in the study of Srimadbhagavatam. Today we will be studying Srimadbhagavatam, 11th Canto, chapter 31. This is the last chapter of 11th Canto, the Disappearance of Lord Kṛṣṇa. And here, we actually in this chapter hear about 3 blessings. Hare Krishna. So please join us for Jai Radha Vallabha prayers. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please join us for Mangalacharan prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirye Shratam Svakatha Krishna Punya Shavana Kirtanaha Hridayantasto Bhadrani Vidunote Suhatsata Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtiti. Hare Krishna. Please join us in the recitation of the first verse of Srimadbhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 31, the Disappearance of Lord Kṛṣṇa. Shri Shuka Uvacha Atha Tatra Gamad Brahma Bhavanya samam cha samam bhavaha Mahendra Pramukha Deva Munayah sa Prajeshvaraha. Please.
Shri Shuka
Shri Shuka Uvacha
Atha Tatra Gamad Brahma
Atha Tatra Gamad Brahma
Bhavanya cha samam bhava
Bhavanya cha samam bhavaha
Mahendra Pramukha Deva
Mahendra Pramukha Deva
Munaya sa Prajeshwara.
Munaya sa Prajeshvaraha. Translation by the disciples of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Shukdev Goswami said, then Lord Brahma arrived at Prabhas along with Lord Shiva and his consort, the sages, the Prajapatis and all the demigods headed by Indra. Hare Krishna. Please join us for Guru Pranati. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshitarine Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai Shri Guruve namaha Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim Yat kripa tadaham vande Shri Gurum dīnataranam. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rāma, Rāma Rāma, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So dear devotees, yesterday we covered in the previous class the disappearance of the Yadu dynasty. And now today we will be covering the disappearance of Lord Kṛṣṇa and how to invoke loving service to Lord Kṛṣṇa. Unto Lord Kṛṣṇa is the main aspect. And sometimes we see the chapters mostly have like one blessing. But in this chapter, it is a special chapter where we get 3 blessings. What's the first blessing? First blessing is anyone who regularly rises early in the morning. So you have to rise early in the morning, remember. And carefully chants with devotion the glories of Lord Kṛṣṇa's transcendental disappearance and his return to his own abode will certainly achieve that same supreme destination. So when we, with faith, with reverence, with gratitude, in humility, are chanting the glories of Lord Kṛṣṇa's disappearance, which is this chapter, the disappearance of Lord Kṛṣṇa, then we can attain the same supreme abode as his. And sometimes people say, okay, we attain the same supreme abode, we get to enjoy as he is enjoying. So we'll discuss that later. Yes, there is very nice insight to that particular aspect as well. Because Anand Bhaya Abhyasat, that's the nature of living entity. We are all seeking happiness. And we are all saying that how can we be happy? And trying to engage in various kind of endeavors, right? Because we are conscious living entities, we are always seeking to engage in different endeavors. And all the endeavors that we are engaging in, there is only one aspect that we are looking at. Happiness. How can we be happy? And the goal of life is to attain love of Godhead, so that we can be eternally happy. Not flickering happiness as sometimes people experience in this material world, but experience eternal happiness. Now what's the second blessing? Now the second blessing is, any person who with faith engages in chanting the glories of these various pastimes and incarnations of Lord Vishnu, the Lord of Lords, will gain liberation from all sins. So now if there are sinful reactions that are there, they will be destroyed just by meditating on, chanting and glorifying the various incarnations of Lord Vishnu. So Lord Kṛṣṇa, of course, he expanded into various Chaturvya forms. First his expansion is Lord Balaram. Then from Lord Balaram appears Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyumna and Aniruddha. And then from them, Pradyumna being the Cupid, right? So he is also the cause of all the Cupids, which are Jiva Tattvas. So all we are discussing right now till Aniruddha is our Vishnu Tattvas. And then the the Purusha avatars happen, which is Mahavishnu, Karadakshai Vishnu, Shirodakshai Vishnu and Garbhodakshai Vishnu. These are the three Vishnus who manage the affairs of this material universe. And then Lord expands further as his super soul, Paramatma feature form. And he pervades everything as Shirodakshai Vishnu. So here, when sometimes people looking at, expansions of Vishnu, so they are maybe thinking of Garbhodakshai Vishnu, who is, an expansion of Mahavishnu, Karadakshai Vishnu into each of the material universes that emanate from the pores and breathing of Mahavishnu. We already covered that Lord Kṛṣṇa, he is so amazing that even Mahavishnu wanted to see him. And he was stealing Brahmana's sons one after another, and we already covered those aspects. So Lord Kṛṣṇa can easily cross over this material universe, go to the eternal, spiritual realm, as he took Arjun with him, and come back anytime. So that is also very important to understand when we discuss about disappearance of Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa. And what are the various incarnations they come to mind? Normally people refer to the 10 incarnations, right? Because Srila Jayadev Goswami in the 13th century, he in his Dashavtar prayers, he refers to those 10 incarnations. So Lord appears, and Matsya Avatar, so he glorifies the fish incarnation, Matsya Avatar, the first one. Then second is Kurma Avatar. Third is Varaha Avatar. Fourth is Nrsimhadev, appearance of Nrsimha. Then fifth is Vaman Dev. Sixth is Parshuram, who's a Shaktavish avatar, but Jayadev Goswami refers to him as an incarnation of Lord Vishnu. Then sixth is appearance of Lord Ramchandra. Seventh is Lord Balram's appearance. And then 8th is Lord Buddha's appearance, and 10th is Kalaki. So sometimes people think that there are only 10 incarnations. Well, there are unlimited incarnations of Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa. And these incarnations, some of them have been referred to in the 3rd chapter of the 1st canto. So when we remember all these incarnations and their wonderful pastimes, as they are continuing to deliver us and showing us our path back to Godhead, then, we get inspired, right? When someone very powerful, very amazing, and of course, greatest of all is Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa. So, we know that God is great, but Srila Prabhupada always stressed that we should also understand how great God is. So when we see these pastimes, then we try to, we should try to meditate on how wonderful Lord is. And Lord Shri Krishna is a reservoir of all pleasures. Even to Putana, who came to give poison to Lord, because she came in the form of a mother, right, as a nurse, he allowed her, he killed her, yes, but he allowed her to be able to become an associate of Mother Yashoda, giving her the position of nurse. So Putana was able to attain that supreme abode Golok Vrindavan and became a close associate of Yashoda Mai. So the very first demon that Lord Krishna kills is a she demon. And Uddhava, he is experiencing ecstatic symptoms when he is glorifying Lord Shri Krishna. Aho bakiyam stanakala kutam asadvyapya asadvi. So again, he is like saying that Baki, right? Baki is sister of Bakasur. She had put poison on her stan so that she would, because she was unfaithful, even though she is appearing in the form of mother, her intention was to poison the Lord and kill, as Lord appeared in the form of baby. And Lord gave her the position of mother. Who can be more merciful than he? So he is, experiencing this amazing realization. So Uddhav himself tells us, so Lord is so merciful. So when we glorify and remember his various pastimes, all the sinful reactions, they are driven away. And even if there are some manifested sinful reactions, then instead of, our hand could have been cut off, but instead of that we get a small scratch. So when devotees understand from that aspect, they feel great gratitude towards Lord Shri Krishna. Now what's the third blessing? So again, remembering the first blessing is, who rises every morning, remembers the disappearance of Lord Shri Krishna and glorifies Lord Shri Krishna, attains the same destination. Second blessing is, one who remembers the various incarnations of Lord Vishnu, Lord Shri Krishna, then all the sinful reactions are destroyed. And then the third blessing is the all auspicious exploits of all attractive incarnations of Lord Shri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And also the pastimes he performed as a child, as described in Srimadbhagavatam. So again, the third blessing is, as described in Srimadbhagavatam, when the all auspicious exploits, all auspicious pastimes of Lord Shri Krishna, and in the other scriptures like Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and so many other scriptures, there are so many Puranas are there as well. Anyone who clearly chants these descriptions of his pastimes will attain transcendental loving service unto Lord Shri Krishna, who is the goal of all perfect sages. So what is the goal of life? To attain love of Godhead. So we can attain love of Godhead when we read Srimadbhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and other scriptures. Now sometimes when I say that this is so easily possible, people find it hard to believe, right? They want to go for meditation. Sometimes we see people come, to the temple. They don't want to talk to anyone. They're like, I'm a yogi. And they sit right in the middle, and up front. And they go in meditation. And then when devotees are chanting, sometimes they're saying, please don't chant, I'm meditating. And then the question arises, who are you meditating on? Because the highest meditation, the highest samadhi is chanting of the holy name. So it's also very important for us to understand, and not disturb others, those who are chanting. We should continue to go on our path. But devotees, being merciful, they say, okay, let's not disturb him. He wants to attain some peace. And we retreat back, into a corner where we can continue to chant quietly and peacefully. So we have to also understand that the goal of life is, what is the goal of life? It's not to be eat, sleep and be merry. That is the materialistic, perspective. That's in the illusion one feels such and such. So there's a very nice story given in this respect, that how to simply attain goal of life. So we have heard about the three blessings and how chanting of the holy name, is the path. The Krishna consciousness path is the best path. That has been also visible when we hear this story. So once there was this rich man. He was very rich. He had estate homes and he had a lot of industries. And he only had one son. So he and his son, they used to collect paintings of artists like Picasso, Da Vinci, and others. And they were living in the U.S. And of course, in 1970, as we know, Vietnam War, that broke out, and people were getting drafted in army. So his son got drafted in army. So because they were patriotic by nature, he said, "My dear son, you have this amazing responsibility, you have this duty to perform, so you should perform it very nicely." The son also understood it, his father's message, and he went to join the army. And then there was war, so his son was, sent over to Vietnam, and he was fighting there. One day, the old man receives this news that his son has died in the battle. He only had one son. He had no other relative. And so he became very sad. He stopped going to work. He started staying at home. He had a butler who would take care of him. And he would not talk to many people. He, had his management organizations, run the various industries and various businesses that he was having, and he stayed confined in his estate home. Now, one day there was, the doorbell rings. So the butler goes and opens the door. What does he see? He sees that there is a young soldier, about the same age as, the rich man's son. He has his one leg cut off, so he is having, a support. And he is holding something in his hand. So he says, "Yes, how can I help you?" The butler asks the young man. He says, "Actually, I was a very dear friend of, the son of the rich man. And we were together serving in army. And I wanted to come and visit, to pay homage and, express my condolences." So the butler goes and, he tells the rich man. The rich man gets up, he dresses nicely, comes down, welcomes the young man, makes him sit, gives him a nice seat, and he says, "Yes, please tell me, what is the purpose of your visit?" So now the interesting thing is, first when we have someone come in, we offer water and, some snacks, and then we ask them, what is the purpose? So that's how, in a proper manner, we, request the guests. He took care of that, the rich man, and then he asked. So the young man said that actually we were together in the same battalion, and as part of the same troop, we were fighting together and we were living together, and he expressed that you like paintings. So, and you have amazing collection of paintings. And I have drawn a painting that I wanted to give you. I'm not a very good painter, not a very, expert painter, but this is a small painting that I was able to draw, remembering the time. So now what time? So he's saying that actually when we were fighting, there was actually a bullet heading towards me. So your son saw that somebody and the enemy had shot, in my direction. So he pushed me away so that I don't get shot. However, when he was pushing me, he came in the path of the bullet and it pierced him. So I, saw that moment and I captured it in this painting. And so he shows the painting to the old man. The old man sees that yes, the painting doesn't have great choice of colors. It has not, great strokes are not there as well. But it is showing that how this soldier, was being pushed by his son. You could clearly make out. And the artist means the soldier has made his best attempt to draw this. And, that how his son is pushing him away and the bullet is actually chasing, in the direction of his son. And he's getting hit. So, the old man seeing this painting, the tears, they start appearing in his eyes, but he's trying to control them. And the soldier says, he and I were very dear friend, and he expressed how you love painting. So I tried to express my condolence, and I'm trying to, share this as a gift. Now, old man, he asks this young man, the young soldier, to stay. The young soldier says, no, I have to, take care of other businesses. Please pardon me, and if I come next time, I'll definitely visit again. The rich man is very happy because he's about the same age as his son, so he's feeling the same compassion like a father feels. So he, says bids farewell, and then the young soldier, he leaves. Now the old man, he puts this painting in his bedroom, so on the wall, so that while he is lying down, he can see that painting. Now, since he had confined himself, within the state home, not meeting anyone, and he was getting old as well, so in due course of time, he dies. Now, since there was no one, as per the will, means again, people realized that there will be a great auction, and all art lovers from all around the country, they came. The big industrialists from all around the country, they came, and they all wanted to, in auction, get various resources, various facilities this old man had, and his estate home was also on sale, and everything was on sale. So, the auction house was full. And now the auctioneer, he comes in, and everyone is asking, when are you going to put this Picasso painting on auction? Hey, why don't you start with the Da Vinci's painting? Why don't you start with his estate home? Why don't you start with his this industry and that industry? And the auctioneer says, we'll just go follow the will. And so the auctioneer, he says that actually, as per the will, the first auction is of this painting, and that painting of the soldier, the soldier that had brought, that painting is brought. Now everyone says, it's really no good color combination, not good strokes. They're like, no, we want to start with Da Vinci. It's like, I'm just following the will, and the will says that we have to start with this painting. The first auction has to be of this painting. Now Butler was also there. He immediately saw the painting and recognized that painting. And so the auctioneer said, let's start this painting. And let's start with, say, $10. Now, everyone was looking, sideways. They're like, I don't want this painting. Let this painting be, bought by someone, and then I can move on. Because I want that Picasso painting. I want the Da Vinci's painting. I want that particular estate home. Or different resources this rich man had left behind. So Butler, recognizing how dear that painting to his master, he said, yes, I'll bid. He raises his hand. And they said, okay, sold. And the butler goes over there, pays the money, signs the paper, and as he's coming back, the auctioneer starts closing the portfolio. And everybody is surprised. He said, what do you mean? We still have all these amazing, property that needs to be auctioned. The auctioneer says, actually, as per the will, whoever buys the painting gets everything that this old man had. So it is very important to understand the butler didn't buy it because he wanted to get everything. He bought it because he had developed affection, he had developed love for his master, and he understood the love his master had towards that painting. Right? So it is a reciprocation of love that got him everything. So similarly, devotees, they just chant the holy name. They just serve the Lord with love, with devotion, with attention, with gratitude. And by serving Lord Shri Krishna, by engaging in devotion service, the devotees simply attain perfection. Srila Prabhupada used to refer to this as, taking an elevator instead of going through the staircase system. And sometimes people say, and there is an escalator system must be there. Yes, that escalator system is, you first develop knowledge, and then you develop detachment, then you realize that you should have taken the elevator. So you immediately come back and take the elevator to avoid that long path and so much distraction on the path. So the important lesson is we should engage in devotional service. And to be able to engage in devotional service, we should, chant the holy name. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Rāma, Hare Rāma, Rāma Rāma, Hare Hare. And simply by chanting and engaging in devotional service, because chanting is, prayer. It is a prayer that we are asking, oh my dear Lord Kṛṣṇa, oh Radharani, my dear Mother Radha, please engage me in your devotional service. And we are approaching through Radharani, because Mother is more affectionate than Father. So here we understood the three blessings. Now in this chapter, the way it started, Lord Kṛṣṇa, after all the men, the able men, they had gone to Prabhas Kshetra as per the instruction of Lord Shri Krishna. They had performed the worship of demigods, given a lot of charity to the Brahmanas, and then they had enjoyed the sweet Maria beverage, and they got intoxicated. And by the influence of Yogamaya, they fought with each other. Now when people hear this particular pastime, they're surprised that, wait a minute, they all died, means there were millions of dead bodies out there. So how is it possible that they went back home, back to Godhead? Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in this chapter 31, he covers a very nice story. He covers a story where there is this magician. He goes to a king's court and he says, my dear king, I would like to see your treasury, the treasure in your treasury. Could you bring it out? So the king says, okay, why don't, he points to his treasure. He says, why don't you bring a big platter and, all the important treasures and jewels that we have in the treasury? He says, yes. So the magician, he picks up. He says, see, this is a diamond. And now it's not there. And suddenly, as he says, diamond vanishes in thin air. Then he says, see, this is a beautiful necklace. And now it's not there. And the necklace vanishes in thin air. So as the magician is saying, the king is seeing it happening. And all the other assembled associates and all the, his advisors and ministers, they also see magician is taking something and then making it disappear. And after he had made all the treasures on that big platter disappear, then he says, my dear king, you see your sons, he calls those sons and he says they are going to fight with each other and they're going to destroy, kill each other. And then suddenly there is a quarrel and these sons of the king, they are fighting with each other, they're killing each other, and the whole assembly hall, the ground, the floor is filled with the blood and the cut body parts and everything, and the king is shocked. He's seeing exactly what this magician is saying, and in this way he calls other associates of the king and all his family members, and they are getting killed and they're killing each other. And then he says, it is said that if one meditates, performs meditation at a holy place, then one attains perfection. So you have performed so many wonderful acts, so you are a holy place for me. Saying this, the magician, he sits down, he says, I want to meditate and give up my body. And with Agniya, fire, he invokes in his meditation. When he goes into meditation with, pranaya, pratyahara, and going forward to asana and samadhi, in that state, he invokes this fire from his body, which is burning his body. So immediately, the wives and children of this magician, they enter that fire. And they are all, meditated. Everything is, becomes ash. Everything is destroyed. And the king is in a shocked state. Now what happens is, after 3-4 days, the magician, he appears in his province and he sends his daughter to the king. And his daughter says to the king, my dear king, I have invisibly brought you all your treasure and all your family members. They are all perfectly safe. And then by reciting, a mantra, and tantras means by following a specific vidhi, she is able to make them visible to the king. And she says, now please reward my father accordingly as you deem fit. So again, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur tells this story with this aspect that even a magician could perform such simple acts. Then why can't we believe that Lord Kṛṣṇa can perform some acts? And if you have doubt, then Acharyas give various other explanations. Lord had already covered that, means again, previously as part of his Guru Dakshina to Samyamani, to his instructing spiritual master, not the initiating spiritual master, he had brought back the son of his spiritual master from the abode of Yamraj. So of course, he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He can do whatever he likes. So he brought that. He was able to retrieve the sons of the Brahman and even show Arjun beyond the material universe
the spiritual realm, to go to the, Garbhuta Koshan, where Garbhudakshay Vishnu was eagerly waiting to see Lord Kṛṣṇa. So he was using this trick to see Lord Kṛṣṇa, because even going to Dwarka, one cannot see Lord Kṛṣṇa unless Lord Kṛṣṇa desires so. So he wanted to see Lord Shri Krishna, that's why he was taking away the sons of the Brahman. And now Arjuna is amazed to see. And then there Lord Kṛṣṇa and Arjuna appeared in the form of Narayan Rishi. So even there, Lord Vishnu, while trying to trick Lord Kṛṣṇa, so again they are not different, but even there you should understand the mood. That Lord Kṛṣṇa is showing that if you are cheater, I am cheater number one. If you are trickster, I am trickster number one. He is number one no matter which area you go in. So you cannot cheat Lord Shri Krishna. You cannot cut corners. You cannot take shortcuts. You just have to follow the process. And the process is Tadvidhi Praripatena Pariprashdena Sevaya Ubdekshiyanti Tajjnanam Jnaninas Tattvadarshinaha. So the process is that we have to take shelter of a spiritual master, a bona fide spiritual master who appears in Parampara system in disciplic succession. And we should serve our spiritual master and inquire from him about the confidential subject matters, and he will reveal the truth to us because he has seen the truth, he has realized the truth. So that is an important, very important aspect for us to take. So here Lord Kṛṣṇa, as he is agreeing and as he is about to disappear from this material universe. So Krishna Suri Sama Maya He Andhakara. So we have again and again referred to this particular analogy because Srila Prabhupada, he used it and Acharyas have used it extensively, and one of the aspect of this analogy that applies in this situation is just like at the time of sunset we see a lot of hue, the reddish, orangish and purplish hue on the horizon. And to some eyes it looks very nice, but to some eyes who do not know it, it looks very fearsome. I still remember that as a child, when I would see the sunset, I did not understand it. I was still a small boy, and now my father said, "Now the sun is setting, so it's gone." When I heard that it's gone, I became very fearful, because I was reminded of the previous time when the sun was gone, the darkness fell. And in darkness, with night, I was always afraid of dark, right? Means as children, are afraid of dark. So I said, wait a minute, is it the same darkness that I experienced last night? And I wouldn't be able to see things, I won't be able to understand things, and I will be so afraid if somebody is going to catch me, if somebody is going to torment me, I do not know what's what. There's a lot of confusion that arises with darkness. And that's exactly when Lord disappears, similar feeling arises, right? That if he disappears, then there will be darkness. This darkness of ignorance will take away, the Kali age, right? It is the advent of Kali age. Then, it is a very fearful state. And what shelter, what light do we get? That is the next question. How can we get light, right? And so I was always happy to stay in a lighted area because all the lamps are up and I can see things as they are. Very nice. So this became very instructive, and I was reading Srimadbhagavatam to understand that yes, we are always seeking light so that we can see things the right perspective as they are, and not get bewildered in this material world, because this material world is dukkhalayam ashashvatam. It is a place of misery when we are in darkness, and it is temporary in nature because the nature of the material world is constant transformation. It's constantly changing. Nothing is constant in this world. The only constant is change, as Aristotle said. So here, one of the aspects given is that Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa, when he was in Dwarka earlier, Lord Brahma and the demigods, Lord Shiva and other demigods headed by Indra, they had come, and again the residents of various other planets, Siddhaloka, Charanaloka, Pitraloka, all these residents had come, and they, Lord Brahma at that time had prayed that, my dear Lord, it is time for you to, depart, because the burden of earth has been delivered. And Lord Kṛṣṇa, what did he say? That yes, you feel that the burden of earth has been delivered, but the Yadavas are still there, and they are very arrogant and very strong. And Acharyas reveal that this Lord Kṛṣṇa is saying is actually more of a burden of love. So it's not a burden because of the demoniac mentality, but again Lord Kṛṣṇa wanted to take all his associates with him and also send the demigods back to their positions who had not fully surrendered to him. So this is where at Prabhas all that happens. So all the demigods who had not fully surrendered to Lord Shri Krishna, they went back to the heavenly planets, and all the eternal associates and the surrendered souls of Lord Shri Krishna, they went back to, the supreme abode. And Lord Krishna is about to depart, but before he departs, all these demigods, they appear. And now they are praying to Lord Shri Krishna with the mood that Lord Krishna, when you leave this planet, please come to my planet. So each demigod is praying for the Lord to go to, their individual planets with them. And Lord Krishna at that time, understanding what they are asking, he closes his eyes as if he's in meditation. However, each demigod is feeling jubilant. Yes, this is an indication that he has understood my prayer. He is about to grant me my prayer. Even Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva felt that. And Lord Shiva came with his consort, who is none other than Goddess Parvati. And when she is in her warrior form, right, as a Kshatrani, we refer to her as Goddess Durga. So they have all come and they are praying and they are feeling jubilant that yes, Lord is coming to my planet. And then Lord, he immediately, departs. And it is said that just like lightning cannot be perceived, the path of the lightning, because it goes in so many zigzag manner, one cannot perceive. The demigods could not perceive the way Lord left, and the way he left for his supreme abode, Golok Vrindavan. He did not go to any of their planets. So that has been revealed in this chapter by Shukdev Goswami as he is narrating to Parikshit Maharaj. Now this is very instructive, because when Shukdev Goswami is telling this to Parikshit Maharaj, what is Parikshit Maharaj doing? He is fasting at the bank of Ganges, right? And there he is waiting for his death to arrive so that he can attain, the supreme abode as per the curse of Shringi, the son of Shamika Rishi. So here he is waiting and he is hearing this blessing also, that whoever remembers the disappearance of Lord Shri Krishna attains the same abode. So he is feeling also jubilant, he is feeling very encouraged, Parikshit Maharaj, that because I am hearing about the disappearance of Lord Shri Krishna, I will be able to attain the same supreme destination. And all my sinful reactions, well, he was a very pious king, he was the emperor of the world. So, and he had given up, he had renounced everything after he had heard that he would die in 7 days. And on top of that, he was feeling very blissful because Srimadbhagavatam is being recited by Shukdev Goswami. Now, as Lord Kṛṣṇa departs, various other personalities also depart with him. Religion, personified, departs with Lord Shri Krishna, right? Knowledge departs from, along with Lord Shri Krishna. So all these great personalities are departing, all the auspiciousness is going with him. So this is where darkness comes, right? When the sun sets, darkness comes. And there is some bit of light, but then how will the sun rise? So immediately it is said in the Puranas, especially in Srimadbhagavatam itself, that there is another sun that's rising, and that is, Krishne sodhamo padyate dharma jnana dhvi saha kalonishtam drishyam esha puranarko adhunoditaha. So immediately with the departure of Lord Shri Krishna arose this Puran, Srimadbhagavatam, which is as brilliant as sun. And as Lord Krishna has left, he is disappearing with Dharma Jnana Adi Bhi Saha. So he is being accompanied by religion, knowledge, and so many auspicious personalities. The persons who have lost, who are feeling lost, who are feeling bewildered in this darkness of ignorance in this material world, Kala Dashtam, because of the Kali age, the influence of Kali age, they will get light from this Puran, Srimadbhagavatam, which is like the brilliant sun. So this is where we take shelter. This is where we get light. So even in this darkness, when we read Srimadbhagavatam, the sun has arisen for us and we can see things as they are. So that is the blessing that we get. That's an amazing blessing that we further get. Now, Daruk in the previous chapter, as we heard, had gone to Dwarka. And so he had taken this message that everyone should leave Dwarka because Dwarka will be inundated. It will be overflooded by the ocean. And Arjun, under the protection of Arjun, they should all go to Indraprastha. So having understood this, they, as soon as Daruk reveals that, all the personalities, all the, able men, they were engaged in a warfare among themselves and they are all gone, they have all returned. When Ugrasen and Vasudev, son of the father of Lord Vasudev, when they hear, then they start lamenting and they head back to their palaces to tell their queens and their family members that this, disappearance has happened of the Yadu dynasty and so forth. So again, all the young men are gone, and it is under the protection of Arjun, they are departing. But first, all the women, the widows, they are heading towards Prabhat Kshetra. It is said that Mother Rohini, who is mother of Balaram, and then Rohini also happens to have been mother of Lord Sankarshan. So the eternal associates of the Lord, they stay in Dwarka, while the other ones, so again from the same body, again expansions are happening, they are going to Prabhat Kshetra. So similarly the queens of Lord Shri Krishna, so they are all going, and at the Prabhat Kshetra, Arjun goes, and he at that time sees all these dead bodies, and he gathers the Brahmanas to perform the last rites of all these great personalities like Pradyumna, Niruddha, Samba, Satyajit, and so many, not Satyajit, but so many other personalities like Gada, the twin brothers, and so forth, and Lord Balaram and Lord Shri Krishna. So again, Acharya has explained that by the influence of Yog Maya, even a body of Lord Krishna is being produced so that those rites can be performed. So Lord is so amazing that by one act he can perform many activities simultaneously, and he can satisfy everyone. People who are bewildered in dark ignorance of this material world, he satisfies those people as well, and people who are devotees, he satisfies the devotees as well. Understanding that all these queens are actually going back home, back to Godhead. So as the pyre is set and the bodies are being burned, all the queens, they are entering their respective husbands' fire, and they are attaining the same abode. While Arjun, he is taking others along with Daruk's family and Daruk and other queens of Lord Krishna to Indraprastha. So as they are going, we already covered in the first canto, as how Lord Kṛṣṇa, he manifests in the form of cowherd boys. And just like a cowherd man, he, just with having sticks in their hand, they were able to defeat Arjun and take away the queens. So some of these queens were actually the demigoddesses, the wives of the demigods, and they went back to their position as the demigods, as well as those who are eternal associates of Lord Shri Krishna in Dwarka, they went back to their supreme abode. So there is also a spiritual Dwarka. So this is Bhauma Dwarka, which gets inundated by the ocean. The ocean waters covers it, except for the palace of Lord Shri Krishna, while the spiritual Dwarka is eternal. It doesn't get inundated. It is eternally situated, and all the associates of Lord Shri Krishna, the eternal associates, they attain there, the Dwarka associates, who are, like Queen Rukmini, Satyabhama, Jamvati, and so many others. Now, sometimes people say, wait a minute, there were some queens who were, demigoddesses, and they went back to the heavenly planets. How is that possible? How is that possible? Because if you're queen of Lord Shri Krishna, you have to attain the supreme abode. Well, there were some of the queens who were, lured away and they could not fully surrender. They got attracted by Yogamaya and Mahamaya as well. Sometimes it is referred. And they had this curse from Ashtavakra Muni. Ashtavakra Muni, Vakra means distorted, right? So his body was distorted at 8 places. So many of the demigoddesses after, in the first chapter of 10th Canto, we heard as how Lord Brahma reveals that Lord will be appearing in Yadu Dynasty, you should take birth. So many of the demigoddesses, they worshipped. They asked Ashtavakra Muni, who was a very great priest, he was a great priest, so they said, please, perform a yajna so that we get to take birth as queens of Lord Shri Krishna, as his wives. So Rishi Ashtavakra, he performed that sacrifice, fire sacrifice very nicely. And when the yajna was over, as he was moving, because his body is distorted 8 places, his movement was very strange. So looking at his movements, they laughed. So when these demigoddesses, they laugh, Ashtavakra Muni became angry. And he said that you will be kidnapped. Even though you will appear as queens, you will be kidnapped, during this pastime. So when Narkasur had kidnapped these princesses from various kings, they were thinking that is the kidnap. But the real kidnap happens is when, Lord appears as the cowherd man and he defeats Arjun and he takes away all these queens. So that is where it has been explained. Now, when Arjun is, seeing that all these activities are happening, he is somewhat bewildered, but he takes shelter remembering the instructions of Lord Shri Krishna at the battle of Kurukshetra. And he is remembering this specific instruction, Naham prakasha sarvasya yoga maya samavritah mudho aham nabhijanati loko mamajam avyayam. I am never manifest to the foolish and unintelligent. For them I am covered by my external creative potency. And then the refer is given of Yog Maya. And so the deluded world knows me not, who am unborn and infallible. So this is where we understand that, the eternal associates of Lord Shri Krishna, along with Lord Krishna, they went back home, back to Godhead, right? And he doesn't disappear like, when our bodies disappear, it just merges back our body. And it was the influence of Yoga Maya, it so appears that Lord has died, so that even the mundane people, they don't get disturbed. Because they want to enjoy, sleep and be merry, and sometimes they even go down to the level of blaspheming, Lord and Lord's devotees. And then because of that, they have to face hellish condition. But that's their destination. They are making the choice. So we all have choices, given to us. That's because of the minute freedom that we have received. And Lord really wants us to come to Him, to take His shelter, willingly, not by force. And that is an important aspect we should understand. So when we take to, devotional service, when we perform devotional service, when we become Krishna conscious and engage all our activities for the pleasure of Lord Hrishikesha, who is the master of the senses, our senses are automatically satisfied and we attain the supreme destination. So that is an important lesson that we learn in this chapter. And how simply by the chanting of the holy name, we can attain perfection in this very life. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Now sometimes people say, wait a minute, chanting you said is a prayer to get devotional service. So how can you attain perfection by chanting of the holy name? There's a very nice story Srila Prabhupada used to cover regarding this. And the story goes that once there was a beggar. He had never seen gold in his life. So he heard somebody describe that gold is a very precious metal and so forth. He asked, what does it look like? He said, the people laughed at him. Like, you're a beggar, what are you going to do with gold? But he said, who has most gold? I said, of course, the king has most gold. So he went to the king. He said, my dear king, I have a request. The king said, okay, tell me what your request is. The beggar said, I want to see gold. King was intelligent. He said, okay, you want to see gold? and what's the purpose? He said, I have never seen gold. I want to see what gold looks like. Now the king is smiling. He points to his treasurer. He gives very specific instruction. Please take this beggar to the treasure house, open the treasure house and show him gold in the treasure house. The treasurer has understood exactly what the king said. He takes the beggar to the treasure house. So they walk up, to the treasure house. There are a lot of steps. So they walk up the stairs. There's a big giant door, even the elephants cannot break with all those spokes coming out. And now the treasurer opens the door. And when he opens the door, the beggar says, okay, where is gold? And then the treasurer picks up, a golden ornament. And he says, this is gold. It's made up of gold. A goblet he picks up. He says, see, this goblet is made up of gold. He understands, oh wow, this is a golden, this is what it looks like. And then the beggar is shocked. Because then he looks back. The steps through which they came was made of gold as well. But he never realized it because he had never seen the gold. So when we chant the holy name, we are praying to the Lord that please engage me in your devotional service. Yet at the same time, this is a prayer, which is itself a devotional service. Right? So, it is the means to an end, and it is also the end itself. Because just by chanting of the holy name, we can attain the love of Godhead. Because the blessing that we get is engagement in devotional service, which is what we are requesting. And so we get more and more devotional service to engage in and attain perfection in this very life. So that is a very important message to take from today's lesson and from this example that Srila Prabhupada provides us, that just like the beggar was surprised, similarly people who do not know devotional service, when they start taking to the chanting of the holy name, they realize that that itself is devotional service, and they continue to engage in devotional service, feeling the jubilation, the transcendental bliss one gets by engaging in various kinds of devotional service. And what are the 9 kinds of devotional services? Shamanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atma Nivedanam. And Acharyas have explained that even by engaging in one type of devotional service, one can attain perfection. Parikshit Maharaj, he is hearing Srimadbhagavatam from Shukdev Goswami. Shamanam, just by hearing he attains perfection. Shukdev Goswami is just reciting, right, Srimadbhagavatam to Parikshit Maharaj. Just by Kirtanam, just by singing the glories of Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa, he attains perfection. Smaranam, just by remembering Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa, Prahlad Maharaj, he attains perfection. And then Pada Sevanam, Goddess Lakshmi attains perfection just by serving the lotus feet of the Lord. And then comes Vandanam, Akrur attains perfection by singing prayers to Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa. Archanam, Prithu Maharaj attains perfection by performing deity worship, by worshipping Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa. Then comes Dasyam, Hanumanji, Bajrang Bali, he attains perfection just by serving Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa as Lord Ramchandra. So Supreme Lord, he appears in various forms, Vishnu avatars, and just by serving him, one can attain perfection. And then Sakhyam, Arjuna attains perfection by being friend to Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa. And finally, Atma Nivedanam, surrendering everything. Daitya Raj Bali Maharaj, he attains perfection by simply surrendering everything, including his body, to the Lord, who appears as Vaman Dev. And in his deep Vikrama form, he takes away everything from Bali Maharaj, but then gives him Sutala, which is even more opulent than the heavenly planets. So merciful is the Lord, and so merciful is his chanting. And this, Namadhana is Goloka Dhana. So it is, the love of Godhead is coming from the treasure house of the Golok Vrindavan, the topmost. Golokena Prema Dhana Hari Nama Sankirtana. Thank you. So that is the glories of this. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he appears in his golden avatar, right? And he gives us the chanting of the holy name. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Rāma, Hare Rāma, Rāma Rāma, Hare Hare. Just by taking shelter at the lotus feet of Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa reading Srimadbhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, we can attain the goal of this life, which is love of Godhead. So how to attain love of Godhead? Just by simply reading the scriptures. And this is Purushottama Mas. So any little endeavor we perform is multiplied thousands and thousands of times, because this is Lord's month. Purushottam refers to Lord Vishnu himself, Lord Kṛṣṇa himself. So we should take to devotional service as much as possible. Any opportunity we get, we should engage in devotional service, chanting of the holy name, reading Bhagavad Gita, Srimadbhagavatam, listening to Sankirtan and so many other discourses that are going on currently. And we can make our life blissful. We can experience transcendental bliss in this very life, in this very time, and we can rise above all the miseries that are happening in this material world and not get bewildered, because we will get the amazing light from the sun as Srimadbhagavatam. It's not different from Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa, and so is the name, not different from Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa. Achavigraha form, not different from Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa. So today we covered how to attain the loving devotional service to Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa, how to attain perfection. Now one question was there, that if we go back home, back to Godhead, do we get to enjoy like Lord Kṛṣṇa is enjoying? So again, the interesting thing is this: everyone out there is serving Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa, but sometimes people get even more enjoyment that Lord Kṛṣṇa is experiencing, right? Radharani is an example, and her Sakhis and her followers, they are sometimes getting more bliss in their company together than Lord Kṛṣṇa. He is Atmaram, he is fully satisfied. Yes, Lord Kṛṣṇa is fully satisfied. So how do we understand this particular aspect? A very nice example can be given. Think of a rich person, right? Any rich person that you know. So rich persons, they have their family members, and they have big estate homes, and they have big industries. They are going every morning, and they also have a lot of servants, right? And these servants are taking care. So every time, when the rich man is sleeping, they're making sure the breakfast is ready and so forth. The rich man and his family members, they get up, and these servants, they make sure that they bring things to the rich man, he takes care of all his amenities and comfort. And the servants are, serving very nice breakfast, making sure his shower things are ready and so forth. All the family members are getting ready in the morning. The, working members are going out to do their work. The children are going to their schools. The wives are going to meet their friends. And what happens afterwards? The servants have the whole house for themselves for next 10 hours, right? So after having taken care of early morning activities, now the servants are enjoying the breakfast, right? Are they enjoying? They're making separate breakfast? No. They actually made this nice big feast every morning. And after the master has gone to work, they are enjoying this feast with their family members. And in this manner, they are continuing to enjoy. And well, all the other amenities, like, large screen TVs are there, various other facilities are there that rich man has bought. But basically, all the servants are enjoying those facilities as well. And now when everybody comes in the afternoon, in the evening back home, the servants continue to resume their services. And at night also, they continue to resume their services. But they are, the rich man is actually sharing all his facilities with his servants. And sometimes when the rich man is at work, running around, doing various activities, these servants are relaxing at home, and together they are enjoying these nice amenities that have been prepared for the enjoyment of the rich man. So similarly, Lord is so merciful that he is ready to share all his wonderful amenities in Vaikuntha planets, in the spiritual world. And all we have to do is constantly serve him, and he imparts as his blessings all these amenities that we get to enjoy. But our knowledge is perfect, right? Satchidananda Vigraha. So we in perfect knowledge understand that everything should be used in the service of Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa. And we accept the remnants, right, as prasad. Prasad is also mercy. And we accept as everything as mercy, and that mood of gratitude. We experience transcendental bliss when we really enjoy. That transcendental bliss refers to that enjoyment that is being referred again and again by the Acharyas, by Lord Kṛṣṇa himself, that he is ready to share. All we have to take to is take to devotional service, take to the chanting of the holy name, become Krishna conscious, and make our life perfect in this very lifetime. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rāma, Rāma Rāma, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Gantra Srimadbhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Anant Kori Vaishnava Vind ki jai. So today we covered 11th canto. So again, we'll start a new chapter in the next class. New canto, which is, we want to do 12th canto. Again, we'll decide. Please join us for Nasima Dev prayers. Gantra Srimadbhagavatam ki jai.
पुरुषोत्तम मास की जय, निताय गो प्रेमानंदे, हरि हरि बोल, हरे कृष्णा।
Hare Krishna.